All right. Hey, Erica. Hey, Leslie. How's everyone tonight? Hope everyone is feeling good this evening. So good to see everybody. We're gonna let a few more folks jump on because we've got a really great show or live this evening. Really excited about our guest this evening. We're going to do a little bit of a guided meditation this evening with Dr. Fabu Jackson, who is fabulous poet, educator, meditationist, who has so much wisdom for us. I absolutely adore her. Shout out to TLC. So she's going to help ground us. So if you're an empath at all, you know how easily it can be to become drained by the energy of others. How your love is so big and so grand that you love people so deeply that sometimes you can have a tendency to overgive and hyperextend yourself because you feel so deeply for others. You have such a great level of compassion. So, hello, Erica. Hello, Leslie. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. It's going to be a really great evening. To introduce those of you who are not familiar with me and my work, my name is Ber-Henda Williams, and I'm a visionary empath coach, and I work with empaths, those who can take on or have the ability to tap into the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of others as if they were their own. There are several types of empaths, but these folks across the board are lights. They are loving, they're compassionate individuals. They get insight, they have very vivid dreams that may show up as deja vu. They also have precognitive skills. They also have claircognizant skills and abilities where they can know something is going to happen before it does. They have strong inclinations around weather, for example. There are others who are animal empaths who have really strong relationships with animals. There are emotional empaths who can definitely tap into the thoughts and feelings of others. You also have geomantic empaths who can touch objects and get a sense of who it belonged to, character traits, maybe even feel into some of the story behind those objects. So it's a really great time because I feel that right now we're in such need of love and compassion right now. And the empath really has that gift to be resilient, to really get to the heart of the matter of what matters. Um, they're able to create a sense of calm and peace. And they are those of us who have a very strong spiritual connection. So that's a bit about what the empath is. And so my work is I do this every Tuesday evening at this time where I interview a different visionary empath to talk about their journey, their walk, and also their business because visionary empaths or empaths for that matter really offer great insights. They make great educators. They make great counselors. They are phenomenal artists for those who have the artistic inclination. They're amazing social workers. So they're really the emotional first responder. A lot of empaths end up in areas or in sectors where humanity comes first, where they are the ones who come in, especially when there's tensions or heavier emotions. They can really deal with it. Doctors, ER, there are even medical empaths. So those are the people that we go to first. And if you aren't sure if you're an empath or not, you can definitely inbox me. We can have a conversation. But there's empaths who um, also have people that kind of come up to them. So I don't know if you have ever experienced this where you're at Kroger or Meijer in line and someone begins to share with you and they feel very comfortable with sharing their entire life story. Hey, Maria. Hey, Armithia. They feel very, very comfortable in sharing stories, their personal lives with you with relative ease, and you somehow know exactly what to say to them. You're able to speak to their situation. So, the empath, again, is such a great person, great individuals to have. And the work that is needed on this planet right now is really calling for that salve, that love, that insight, that intuition that empaths have. And I'm loving how empaths are showing up in the world with their lectures and with their events and with their coaching practices to really help us delve deep into our souls and delve deep into our spirits and into our hearts so that we can shine more brightly, because I do believe that there is no power greater than the power. That power is God, and there's nothing greater than that power. And so, yeah, Leslie, I can imagine it does happens. It happens a lot. And also children. If you notice how children react to people, they're a really great barometer because, children are innocent and they love. And so, kind of watch a child's behavior around people, and genuinely, usually empaths will have children just cling to them. They run to them with open arms. Hey, Reese. Hey, Alex. So, these individuals, like I said, command a lot of attention. And people are naturally drawn to them, even though the empath likes to kind of fade into the background a little bit. They don't always necessarily like to be right out front. However, people will find them, and usually there's a message that the empath has to pass on to the individual. So I I'm really excited to have these conversations. And so, if you could, on the timeline for our fellow empaths, if there's any story or experience that you've had around being empathic or think that you're empathic, hey, Sophia, please, drop us a note, a message here, and share a bit about your experience while we wait for Dr. Fabu. Hey, Sophia. Uh, yeah, Alex, we should definitely FaceTime for sure. Yeah. So, any case, like I said, we're waiting for Dr. Fabu to come in and lead us into a bit of a meditation, and we also have hey, Enid. We also have Jessica Schiller who's going to join us this evening as well. So we have a pretty action-packed evening around sharing our empathic truths and our empathic gifts. So I am very, very, very excited about what's going to happen this evening. It's going to be awesome. So I think, Alex, you might be. No, you're not the only man on the timeline. I think we have some other men. We have Shron Holmes, Chris August. So no, there are other men who are on the line or on this Facebook, and so also too, men can be empaths. It's not uncommon, but there are also men who are empaths who have the gift of sensitivity. We're not about to start that technician. Ooh, we're not about to start that technician speak. So for those of us who are tuning in from other parts of the world, there's this myth about Cass Tech High School being the greatest high school. I will admit, Lathrop is no longer in existence, so it doesn't have a rival. But as a graduate of Southfield Lathrop High School, I would say that we are a world class, and the education that I have received sets me apart and has made me very competitive in this world. But in any case, Cass Tech is also a wonderful place of learning. So in any case, we're not going to have that rivalry this evening. So Hayla now, I'm just waiting on Dr. Fabu to join me. Hey Emma. Yeah, so we have like I said, a really beautiful evening planned out in terms of connection with our empaths. Aw, thank you, Alex. I'm just out here doing my thing, doing what I love, just listening to my own spirit, my own heart, and tuning into that, tuning that into that faculty. So Miss Yola, Monique, yeah, I know you have to get to class. I wish you could stay too. But if you have any questions about being an empath, please, drop us a question. Um, Lori, um, as well. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate this. So, like I said, if there are any questions or thoughts that you have around it, so like I said, I am a coach for visionary empaths, and so it's some exciting things that are coming up. In regards to that, I'll be releasing an 8-week course for visionary empaths, and so we'll go through all the levels of empath and also talk about how to unpack your gifts and how to create and gain clarity around that. Many empaths have felt a little odd in their lives, like they don't exactly fit in. They might be considered socially inept, and they may feel that they don't belong to any particular group. But the empath does have a really great way of connecting. So, yes, I always say that it is a gift, that it is a superpower. Because in our world, Sophia, intimacy is a lost art. And being able to connect and to be able to feel in the way that the empath does is a rarity. And so when we think about situations where we need immediate calm and cool and collection, where cooler heads prevail, the empath is that answer to that. And so my question then to you is, why is it that you don't feel like being an empath is a gift? So, let's maybe unpack that a little bit. And so Leslie says, oh my gosh, when I was a preteen, uh, my mom had to make me come in the house. There would be a bunch of children all in my front yard or in my porch in the driveway playing with my toys. I would share my toys, bikes, playing with my toys. I would share my toys, etc. I enjoyed it, but my mom felt overwhelming. Ah, so your mom may have been an empath, and so all of that energy could have been a bit overwhelming to her. So with that said, um, it can be overwhelming in terms of like getting that amount of energy. It can make you feel drained. So the other side of being an empath is that you can have emotions and feelings that are not your own that can come into your body, which may create sadness or anxiety or anger, and you may not know where it's coming from. And some of the so next week we'll have an interesting um, uh, empath is a death doula, where she works and helps individuals transition over to the other side. So that's another type of empath. And so the visionary empath in particular does allow for a deeper connection with a specific group, whether it be animals or children or geriatrics. So it's very interesting the types of empaths that exist, and there are different modalities that one can engage in um, to help manage the energy. Hey, Drew. So, Sophia, I would invite you um, to take your leave of absences when you need to. So, i.e., if you need to rest or be away from people to rejuvenate and to recharge. And also, blocking and shielding help as well. So, grounding techniques, I think, will help. And then also, shaking off the energy that doesn't belong to you. And so, it's really important to, throughout the day, kind of check in with yourself and see, how much you have given, because I would be really curious to see what type of empath you are. So you and I can talk about that offline. I will be releasing an assessment fairly soon, uh, probably by next week. The assessment should be ready, and you can go on berhendawilliams.com, and I'll have that available. So I'll be giving you all that shout out. So um, I'm really excited about that. So we can see, yeah, what type of empath you are, and so you can, and by you, in the coach training, I really feel like that would be a great area for you to be in. And you lend yourself naturally because you get a deeper inner wisdom, and having that connection with Most High definitely helps you give the best and give the deepest of love and deepest resolve, um, through your gift. So I think that it is very exciting to have this gift. And so another area for empaths to also help manage their energies is through art, because we know that artists have a heightened sensitivity toward inspiration. They find muses, and when you are able to take all of that, and so poetry is one of my favorite tools to give to an empath, in that poetry really does help you process and synthesize the world around you. Dance is another way for the empath to get out of their heads and into their bodies, and again, it helps to expel the energy. Dance is a very spiritual act. I feel is very spiritual act because it's freeing oneself from the constructs of like this world. And let's say on average, an average song is about what, 3 to 5 minutes. So you can move yourself into a state of euphoria through dance. Um, Also, house music. So shout out to any of my house heads. House music is a very percussive, bass laden. They turn up the treble every now and again. Um, that's very soulful, and so it helps the body kind of sway and move. And again, it also releases a lot of that excess energy, particularly the energy that doesn't belong to you. Yes, dance is great. So, yes, I see Enid here. Yes, it is draining. I think that's why sometimes I cling to social media, because I don't carry people's energies as much as if I'm close to people. So, Enid, I also want to have you be mindful of that, because as an empath, I can get it through social media, more so through like inbox or text message. I remember having a conversation not too long ago with a mom, and her pain came at me at like 1,000 hertz, and it was full, and even in the text message. And so it was very, 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 very difficult, because I was blindsided and I didn't ground myself appropriately in the way that I could have if I had been a little more prepared. So just be really careful, the portals in which you engage. And so Leslie says that your mom, yes. So, yeah, your mom, I believe, was definitely an empath. That's also passed through the matriline. So I do believe that, because she was a teacher. And so teachers have that natural nurturing, maternal or paternal disposition anyway. And I'm sure that there was not one of her children that she didn't know when they were lying, when something was going on with them, if they were sad. She knew exactly what it was without words. She could just kind of check in and kind of feel. And so that is a gift that one possesses, and that's why they say teaching is just like ministry. It's a calling. So I can definitely see where your mom would have that ability, especially with all the ways that she was interacting with you. Absolutely. So I am looking for Dr. Fabu. Dr. Fabu, if you're on. Dr. Fabu, if you're on, because I really would love to have her join us. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure I checked in with Dr. Fabu and let her know that I was indeed on and was looking for her. So yeah, I think that again, looking at the areas of service and areas of giving, empaths are great, but also in those jobs, they are extremely stressful. It can be very difficult to leave your job and leave it at work because there's a human element that's adjacent to that. And knowing that, until a person knows that you care and that you're loved, they don't care about what you know. And knowing that, some of the best educators or the best people um, are are the ones who have the heart for it. And sometimes I think when we think of heart, it sort of has a romantic connotation. But the heart is also the place of courage. The heart is also the faculty that we can use for knowing. And so, with that, um, we become keenly aware of what the right thing is because we say, well, what does your heart tell you? That heart is a faculty that yeah, so that faculty is given to us so that we can make the best decision. So, yeah, Sophia, if you have to jump off, I totally get it. Definitely come back. We're here every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. So, um, you can always catch us in the replay as well. So, yeah, have a great evening. So, yeah, I was waiting for Dr. Fabu to check in with us. And we also have another guest this evening, Jessica. So, I'm hoping Jessica can jump in with us because I know you don't want to just hear me have a conversation. So, we're waiting for Jessica to tune in here. All right, so I did not have the intention of it Oh, there's Jessica. All right. Just accept your invitation.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello. So good to
How
see
are you?
you.
So great to see
Is it easier? Oh no, I gotta keep it this way. Okay.
you. Yeah, you can keep it this way. Then that way.
Perfect. Let me just set it up here a little bit better. Sorry, I'm in the car. I do apologize.
No problem.
I'll just hold it. It's easier.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I can hear you. Sound great.
Perfect.
Okay. So, Jessica, startup coach, holistic coach, helping us as sense of this world and to tap the hour and find out how
What's that? Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Yeah, it was cutting out a little bit.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to make sure. Well,
Okay.
yeah, and then how did you come to your path?
So I came into my path really from a place of struggle, as a lot of us do. As I always say, your pain is your passion.
Yes.
And so this really came about from really probably from a young age, but to the point where I was aware and attuned with everything that's going on. I was in my corporate past. So I was 15 years in corporate finance, really just having trouble getting out of bed every morning, having major, depression, anxiety, of course, led to being out of alignment in my body, gaining 80 plus pounds. You can't see me, but I'm only 5'2", and so that can only go in one direction is kind of the joke that I always make. And so really just feeling out of body, and never really understanding. I always felt like I'm not of this world. Finding my place in it. So I moved numerous times, born and raised in Florida. Then I moved to Chicago, thought maybe being away from friends and family and the life, that I lived as a child, I would sort of find myself. And same thing, I kind of got down a little bit of a toxic path there, really just kind of never really partied at a young age, but just kind of went wild, in my years in Chicago in my late 20s. And really, I think came into being, then I moved out here to San Francisco Bay Area 4 years ago, really to follow that kind of free spirit, the whole bohemian, vibe in the Bay Area. And I dragged my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, out here. And it's funny because thinking about vision boarding, I did that as well, but I always indirectly, I'd collect art from everywhere that I traveled or either I lived. And I had a lot of art of San Francisco. I had the Bay Bridge. I had like a painting of a cable car and the California flag. And I remember, my husband at the time was like, why do you have all this California art? And I said, I'm going to live there one day. I just know that I'm going to live there. Surround yourself, with that environment, and eventually, right, you will get there and kind of soak and immerse in that energy. And so that's what brought me out here, but still stayed on that path, worked in venture capital. So on the other end of corporate finance, helping fund other people's dreams until I got to a point 3 years ago when I just said, I got to a breaking point. Enough is enough, and that's why I'm so passionate about getting live and being on podcasts and such, because that is what inspired me to step away, to know that there is, number one, there is another way, there is a better life. And it's all about perspective. It's all about the way you see it. And no, you're not going to have all the answers when you first start, but it all starts with having that faith, that inner deep sense of knowing that you're called for something bigger than this. And as I always say, the day you're born is the day the universe decided that you have a purpose. And, everybody has their own unique footprint that they're here to leave on this earth. And that's what really led me down this path. I started in holistic wellness, which I still do, and I'm very attuned to, mainly because of my own personal journey. Because I always say it's a lifetime. It's not like, especially this time of year, everybody's on the wellness wagon, and then come March, even, April, May, people start to fall off. It's not sustainable. And I knew once I made that decision to come alive, to take my health back, to take my life back, that this is a lifetime commitment. And so that's a huge piece of my journey. But funny enough, I found a lot of women on social media as I was marketing myself as a holistic wellness coach, saying like, how did you start your business? Like, how do you do what you do? I just love everything you put out there. Like, how do you write the kind of content you write? How do you connect with the right people? And that's what sort of led me into that kind of hybrid of holistic wellness and, business immersion, business startup, entrepreneurship coaching.
Yeah, and I think something that you said is very interesting is that you never felt like you were connected to this world. And through a series of experiences and moving, you got a pull into a direction that was distinctly your own.
Yes.
And a path that felt calm, and you felt purpose and alive. And it wasn't traditional.
No, my whole life is very non-traditional. It's funny you say that word. Right before this, I was interviewed on a podcast, and my husband's always, he texts me how to go, and I was like, oh, it was really great, great conversation. I never met the guy, and I said, but he was a little bit too strategic, for me, and I really enjoyed the interview. And he goes, yeah, but I'm sure, it was a great experience, just learning a different way. Like, you're very non-traditional. And I said, yeah, but I still did it my way. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me. Like, I'm very like tell me this and I'm like, I'm going to do that. You know, like that's just, I've been like that ever since I was a child, just like that questioning mind that, okay, tell me this way, but I'm going to find a different way to get to the same place, but I'm just going to do it in my own crazy way. You know, that's just always been the spirit of me and everything I do. So,
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to unpack to another observation as I was listening to you. You said that you've been writing content that is sometimes also aligning to others. So it's like you're creating intuitively.
absolutely.
Yeah, so if
Absolutely.
you could say more about that.
Yeah. So I really feel like when you speak from the heart, you know, and that's not always easy, right? Like I have a lot of clients come to me like, how do you have this presence of when you write? And one of my clients said this to me when she first started with me, and it was quite a compliment. You know, I've never met you. You know, I've seen you on Facebook Live. We've never met in person, but every time I read your content, I can feel your presence. And I think that's truly a gift. And so if I would advise someone, you know, on how to do that, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs starting out, it's really difficult, especially to share these really painful stories, you know, to be vulnerable, to open up, to almost like lay naked, right, before other people, right, on a platform and share these deep, dark stories. And I think what really worked well for me is just putting myself back in that place, like just as I'm writing, as I'm speaking, um just kind of closing my eyes and like feeling that happening to me again in the same space that I was, even though it might be years down the road, but just truly like feeling that you felt, right? I always say it's all about the feeling. It's not necessarily about the action, right? Because the feeling makes fuels you to make a certain decision, whatever that is. So I think a lot of people are always concerned with the end game, but they forget to see what came before that, right? First was a thought, then was a feeling, and then of course the action. And so to kind of rewind and whatever it is that you want to create, you know, content, a book, you know, a video, you know, taking that topic, taking whatever it is and simplifying it in one word. And I think then lacing it around with stories that support that give it life, that kind of lace and really give it, you know, personality and character, right, in the way that speaks to you. And as I always say, you can never really say the wrong thing to the right person, right? There's certain people that really speak your soul language, and that's where that intuition comes into play, knowing that when you write, you don't really have to speak to anyone. In fact, you shouldn't. I did that, a lot starting out, you know, was speaking to everyone, trying to cater to the masses, right? If you want to get big, you got to speak to everyone and, you know, craft this perfect, you know, marketing pitch when it's really not about that. I think, and it's beautiful how even Facebook has slowly reverted its algorithms to being more personal, about real connection, about real people just sharing their stories, and not everything has to be perfect and manicured. And if you make an oopsie or I turn the camera the wrong way for a second, like all is
Exactly.
well. Like everybody gets what they need, right? Even if it's just one nugget or one story that you tell, everybody always gets what they need from whatever you create. And so just knowing that, I think, is really powerful.
And I like you said, um, so I think there's some. Can you hear me okay? 'Cause your audio seems a
Yeah, I
little
can hear
bad.
you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I love what you were saying about speaking to everyone, then it ends up speaking to no one. And it was funny because before you came on, I was telling our audience about speaking from the heart. And sometimes our heart is man's faculty, but actually our heart is more than that. Our seat of courage and authenticity.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
we're lost, the adage is, what is your heart saying?
Yes.
And I think it might be a little trite for some or hokey, but it's true.
Yeah.
When you're speaking to space, it's always right.
It's
It
always
feels right. Yeah. And it connects with
absolutely. absolutely. It's funny you mentioned the word courage, because cur, right, in French is heart, right? And so that is to be courageous, is to be vulnerable, is just to speak whatever's on your mind. And it's funny, on the drive here, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is, I don't know if you heard of her, Candice Kumai. Wabi Sabi is the podcast, and Wabi Sabi is like the art of like perfect imperfection. And what I love about her podcast, she doesn't edit them. She literally speaks from the heart. Like, she had a delivery on her podcast. She's like, "Oops, that's Uber Eats. 1 second," and like goes to get the door. And I love that. I really appreciate that true authenticity. Like, just speaking from the heart, not worrying, right? If all the words came out right. Like, I got so stuck on that when I started, especially in speaking. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm just meant to be a writer, because when you write, you can hit backspace, right? You don't have to press post. You don't have to press play right away. But when you're speaking and you're live in front of people, the words come out as they come out. And I think just knowing and trusting that it's always what is meant to come out, right? That spirit channels the messages through you, and that all is well, in the divine order, right? Everything is meant to be as it is, and just to trust that, and to know that, even if it's not your definition of what you envisioned, you can change that at any moment, right? That's just pushing you in the right direction, right? It's just a learning experience. It's not a misstep. It's just a step in a different direction, is what I call it.
And I think that that's the contrast that shows up, so that we know maybe we're not in the right place. Well, not even in the right place. Maybe where we want to be.
Right.
So we can shift our desires
Mm-hmm.
to come into more holistic, into wholeness.
To be in alignment, with the direction that you do want to go, right? Just to set that intention, and right, if you take a step and that things don't come out the way you would like them to. And actually, one of my I shared this with my group as well. One of my mottos, for 2019, is be okay with it. And it's very simple, but I think it's so profound. Like, when things don't happen, and I'm a planner, not necessarily from like a scheduling type of sense, but like I have an idea of what I want to happen in a given day, in a given week. And if things don't pan out that way, just be okay with it, and know that, it's meant for your higher good. All is meant to be exactly as it panned out. You won't see that in the moment. And I don't remember the exact Steve Jobs quote, but he beautifully described how it's like you can see the progression of your life looking backwards. In the moment, you can't see it. And in the future, you can't see it. But if you look back and you kind of connect the dots, why did this happen? Oh, it happened for that reason, which connected to that, right? Everything is energy. It's beautiful to see that progression, and kind of understand what your place is in that. And then from that lesson, what you're here to teach, what are you here to share with others? Your pain is your passion, and you are given that gift, and it doesn't feel it at the time. And trust me, I understand it's not easy to say that, right? But you see it, right, looking backwards in the present moment as you look back at the progression of your life, and you understand why, things happened as they did. And if it's not exactly the way you want it to look, well, every second is a chance to make a different choice. And that is extremely empowering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know that you do have another appointment that you have to get to, but I do want to.
I have about time.
Okay, because I sound, well, my audio, I'm not sure. You said I sound soft?
Yeah, now you're perfect, actually.
Okay. So everyone else will be, because I'm getting like clear, or it's a little wonky. So, like you said, authenticity.
Authenticity.
Right here.
Sometimes
Yeah, and it's so funny
in our favor, right?
because, yeah, before you came on, everything was perfect. We didn't have any,
Sorry, I messed it
yeah,
up.
any, but yeah, I want to really get into our time and our conversation. So when we talk about being an empath, if you can share a bit, what type of empath resonates most with you in terms of your being?
I would say a natural empath, like an environmental empath.
Mm.
My connection to Mother Nature, I think, is my deepest source and my well of being, so to speak, and definitely from other people. But I think the energy I feed off of other people, right? That whole intuition, that whole like claircognizant, I think they call it
Yep,
claircognizant.
they're cognizant.
That is definitely into play. So I would say it's a hybrid of both, but I think where I get the purest energy, right? Being my true self, really where I have the most clarity, I feel the most in my own body, in my own skin, really just connected. And really we all should, because that's where we come from, right? We are all pieces of the universe, essentially. As Deepak Chopra always says, we're 0.00001% of this universe, which we can say, oh, we're nothing, or, oh, that's amazing. Like, that's how vast and incredible this universe is, and we're pieces of that. But there is something about being connected to nature, right? Be in the environment, being outside, even just feeling the grass beneath my feet, feeling the wind brushing my face, touching a tree when I go outside. It's just, I feel like everything pour through me. Like, that's where I get so much of my ideas, for my business and my writing, is just being outside and not like planning, right? And that's why it's funny, a lot of times I'm interviewed on podcasts, they want these tangible productivity tips. And I'm like, my biggest productivity tip is, connect to spirit.
Hanging out with a tree.
Yeah, hang with a tree. Like, it just sounds so simple. Go outside, like, take a breath, a fresh air. Like, people go to, I love yoga, don't get me wrong. It's all about connecting with the breath. But where do you get the purest source of air and breath? Breath is life, right? Prana is outside.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely, and of course I'm a Taurus, so which is
Taurus.
a sign, right? Green. My birthstone is an emerald, so that green energy, right? Green nature, of course, and just connected to the earth is where I feel most present, most alive, where I can really be myself and do my work in the world.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important for empaths to realize earthing is going to be very, very helpful. And even if you live in a cooler climate, if you can bring some dirt in, kind of earth is really going to be helpful to kind of quell you, rejuvenate you, because earth can take it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in Chicago. I know I'm blessed now to be in California, and even in the winter, it's 60 degrees. It's pretty pleasant to be outside. But in Chicago, like, just stepping out, even if it's like, and I lived in negative 40-degree temperatures, like, just
Oscar.
taking like that few deep breaths of like air, like you said, having plants within your home, or just immersing in water. Like, I even try to like meditate, even I know it sounds crazy, but as I'm doing my dishes and just like hearing the water like pour down the
Yes.
sink, and like soaking your hands in the soap, and right, like, that is a form of that environmental connection, right? Because water, first of all, we are 40% water as human
That's
beings.
right.
So connecting back to that is just so beautiful, and bringing that to your space if you're not, of course, in a place to be outside.
Absolutely. And having live plants around you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said that running water while doing dishes. Like, that's great. That's a great tip for mindfulness to
Yeah.
just help us be aware of our senses, be aware of our environment. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the journey I've been on, because I used to always think, and a lot of people do, like, all these rituals have to be like this big thing, like this planned walk at a certain park, or you have to be in a certain environment. And it's like, what if you bring that environment into the spirit of your everyday life, right? Like, you have to do dishes. Like, a lot of women think, oh, take a bubble bath. Well, what if you don't have the time to take a bath, right? You've got a lot of priorities, but dishes have to get done. And if you can think about the everyday and how you can find sort of the miracle in that, or the natural connection to it, which is what I always do, kind of being that environmental empath. That's how you find the joy, in everyday moments. And I think when you do that, that is the true spirit of fulfillment, right? As the Buddhists say, it's not searching on the outside, it's finding that within and cultivating from that place than operating in the outside world and doing your thing.
No, I just love that. You know, we can practice um, the connection, and it's not spent 40 years in Tibet, or I went to a retreat in some remote part of the world, or spent 1,000 hours on my knees in prayer. That we can, and not negating any of those things, right?
Right.
But that on a day-to-day basis, and especially in the empath, I feel like we have our light on, so the world comes to us.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you've experienced this, but being maybe like at Target or the grocery store, and a perfect stranger just comes up to you and tells you their whole life story.
And it's funny you mentioned Target because that is one of my happy places. Like that dollar section, the little, which my husband calls the kid section. I have so much joy hanging in that section. Like if I'm having a bad day, there's all these like cute little trinkets and notebooks and like inspirational things and candles. And it's like, that's what I mean. Like finding the joy in that. Or like you said, strangers come up to me all the time. Like I'm standing in line at Starbucks and they're telling me their whole life story.
Their whole life story.
I don't know why or how they were attracted to me, but like, oh, like thank you. Like you just have this, inviting presence, and
Yes.
it's awesome. It's really just a beautiful thing to be able to attract people that way, like to kind of magnetize them with your energy. And when I started out, in entrepreneurship, I used to get this online all the time as I was kind of figuring out my niche. People are like, oh, I love your energy. And I used to get offended because I'm like, is that all I'm known for? Like, I just have good vibes. Like,
But that's your soul signature.
yeah, but then I realized like that is what I'm here to teach.
Mm-hmm.
How to have that energy in the everyday. You know what I mean? Like when life is good, when it's not, you know what I mean? When you can't be in Fiji or hiking or right or in some beautiful place, like you said, not to discount those experiences. But when you find those joy in the everyday moments and you're able to attract and magnetize, right, from a business perspective, people by just being yourself and radiating that pure sense of energy, there is no way to like logicize that, right? It's just like it just is, it's just a feeling, and it's so beautiful when you can cultivate that.
Because I think that people, and especially in our world, we can be very harsh and cold and very bottom line driven and not very empathetic at all.
Right.
So that experience with you in life is maybe the first time that someone's ever discovered.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's what, as human beings, what we want. I think Oprah said it, and I love how she's like, at the end of the day, we just want to be seen, heard, and understood, And it's funny you mentioned, like, that person. It's like they could remember that for the rest of their life. Like, I have no one to speak to or no one understands me. And, like, this random girl at the grocery store, like, I had the guy taking the buggies in tell me his whole life story just from a lady yelling at me saying I was in the way because I was on my phone. Yes, I was guilty of, being immersed, being present. And I remember this story. The worker looked at me and he was like, "It's okay." He's like, "You gave me a break." Because like from that pause, like he had a break in his workday, and then he told me like his whole life story. And I thought that was so beautiful because I just love learning other people's stories. It's like you meet people randomly or even on social media, and it's like you just wonder, like, how did they come to be who they are? And you know what I mean? Like, what made them who they are today? And there's so many layers and stories and experiences, and it's just really cool. Like that's, if I could live for 1,000 lifetimes just to tell stories and learn other people's stories, that would be heaven for me. It's just beautiful.
And it's so, wonderful that you're acknowledging that because we're in the year of the creative.
Mm-hmm.
So the African cosmology, this is the year of creativity. So the storytellers,
Beautiful.
this is really the time. And other traditions, this is the year of perspective.
Mm.
So you're in total alignment of what's going on universally.
That just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I was listening to a
I'll
pastor this
read.
morning, and he was saying
Mhm.
that this is the year of perspective. And then he was saying this is the year of creativity. Well, who gives better perspective than a creative?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody that can see all different perspectives and piece it together and lace it with their story. And gave me goosebumps when you said that too, because this is the year that I finally decided I'm tired of telling people that I'm gonna write a book or I have books within me, and I'm writing this year. And so it gave me goosebumps. You said this is the year of the creative,
So
because
yeah, this is your time.
yeah,
This
it's my
you
time.
got
Like I
to
wanted
write
to do
your
it
book.
years ago, but like I said before, there was a purpose as to why it didn't happen before.
Hmm.
I wasn't in the right space. Maybe I didn't have it all put together in the way, right? Or the message wouldn't have, who knows? But it's beautiful to hear that, to be in alignment with the source and the natural order, right, of the years and how and the energy present in the cosmos.
Very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very good. And this is really a great time. Despite what we see, of course, going on in our leadership,
Yep, yep.
this is still a great time to do
Absolutely.
something new, to make a pivot, to be bold, to be creative, to be courageous. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think if anything, that is the time. You know what I mean? Like some people get discouraged, and I'm like, no, like use that fuel for passion, use it for good, like get out there, be bold, speak up. Like that's what I keep preaching, everywhere this year is just like speak up. Like even people in my community, they like, I'm like, okay, where's your comment? Like speak up. Like don't just
Use your
like
voice.
it. Why do you like it? Use your voice. And that is how I created the life that I have. It's how I created my business. And people just need to come out from within the woodworks and tell their perspective, because everyone brings something beautiful to the table. But you got to have the courage, the heart to do that. So,
Yeah.
people.
So I want you to promise me that when your book is done,
Yes,
you'll come back and do a Facebook Live with us.
I would be honored.
And if you are ready to read an excerpt,
Yes, I would be honored.
yeah,
I would be honored.
yeah. So I just am so honored and happy that we could connect this way.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And
Despite
just
the technology, next time I promise I'll be at home, so my
no,
family.
you're fine. You're fine. Because even my technology, I'm hearing a little bit of a feedback. So
Yeah.
I think it's too much of a deterrent. And it's so weird because, like I said, it was fine earlier in the conversation.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. But such is life, right?
Yes, such is life. Such is
So
life.
whoever is hearing this on the replay, please hang out and get it because the message is being delivered from Jessica is absolutely magnificent, and I feel like it's going to truly bless your life. Step in the boldness, step and be courageous. And if there's anything on the inside of you that you want to get it out.
Yes.
Don't let your gifts die with you.
Yeah. And speaking to kind of connect it all together, technology and speaking up and all that, like just know that even if you don't catch every word, right? The person on the other end, like the universe delivers what you need to hear. And I always know that because I used to be nutty about when I listened to like lives or podcasts. I'd have the notebook and capture like every idea. Like I'm just an incessant note taker. And if I can't hear something, I get frustrated. And now I just kind of have peace with myself, knowing that whenever I tune in, whatever point, it's exactly what I need to hear.
You will never miss your bus. Never.
Exactly. I like
It's for
that.
you.
You will never miss your
It's for you.
bus.
You will never miss your bus.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, I knew that right away from just your energy. I was like, I'm connecting with her.
Yes. I know
Yeah.
it's weird how you like message certain people and you just feel, you know what I mean? Like you never actually spoke to them, but you feel their energy through the connection, and you know that it's for a divine purpose. You know that you're
Absolutely.
supposed to connect for a reason, to collaborate, to share. There's always a reason for every relationship in your life. And I thank you so much for having me on your live and connecting. And we should definitely do this again. I'd love
Yes,
to
we will
as
definitely.
well.
Yeah, we will definitely do this again. I'll reach back out to you, see what dates you have available, because I want to do it justice. These interviews have been so beautiful and wonderful and a blessing to both of us. And so I really want to honor you by doing this again. And we actually had another group that was supposed to be on to do some meditation for it. So I want to be able to get the three of us together. So
Yeah.
we'll do a do-over.
That would be beautiful. I would be honored. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. So I do
Yeah.
walk off, but definitely look forward to connecting again. And thank you for those of you that were tuning in live. And
Yes.
thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties here. But hopefully the message poured through. The universe channeled, spirit channeled through us. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
again for this opportunity and for sharing your sacred space.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jessica, so much for joining us. And we'll be in touch soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.